What's up everyone, this is Tessa Fifth and welcome back to another video. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a small recapping of my playthrough for Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Now, if you've been on this channel, you've probably noticed for the past few weeks, the playthrough that I've been doing is for Like a Dragon Gaiden, and since it was wrapped up last week, this video is just a small recap of my experience with Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, how it links up to Like a Dragon 8. Like a Dragon Gaiden is taking place between Like a Dragon 6 and Like a Dragon 7, with Ichiban taking over as a new protagonist. And Like a Dragon Gaiden is to pretty much explain what took place between those two games. Right after Kiryu deaded his name, what exactly was Kiryu up to? What led up to Kiryu actually meeting up at Ichiban at the dissolution meeting and stepping in on behalf to protect Daigo and Watase from Yakuza members who were not so on board with the great dissolution that happened. And this game is pretty much there to explain the void, the unknown, to justify Kiryu showing up. And I say that the story, for the most part, did a pretty good job with doing that. It did a pretty good job with introducing new characters, introducing characters that weren't just new, but also gave them like a pretty good substantial reason to justify them being a part of this story and how they wouldn't be featured in 7. And particularly I'm talking about the two antagonists, which are Nishitani III and Shishido. Granted, Nishitani III is like a fanatic of Watase, and essentially he just had to get bumped off because he's like the most powerful after Watase, and if he wanted to kind of rise up and be like, hey yo, like, no, we're actually not on board with this dissolution, he has the power and pull to convince a lot of Yakuza members who don't want it to happen to just join over into his clan and essentially have a second Omi alliance that would be fronted by him. With Shishido, he was a pretty good villain. One, I sort of had suspicions that he was gonna betray Kiryu. I think if anything, the way they went about it was pretty effective. They kind of had a push and pull of maybe Shishido would betray Kiryu, or maybe he wouldn't betray Kiryu, but of course when he ends up betraying Kiryu, it's not necessarily a surprise, but it does kind of make you go, wow, so you were doing this all along. And I think it has to do with the fact that like Shishido does join Kiryu and Tsuruno with that what was it, chapter 3 with the dudes night out, just hanging with the bros, singing karaoke. I think the fact that you spend time with this guy and you think that this guy would see, oh, like there are some true intentions when it comes to Kiryu and when it comes to dissolving the Yakuza, that these guys, you know, want a better life. You see that like Shishido actually, I don't want to necessarily say bonds because he didn't form a bond with Kiryu, but more so it's that whole intimacy of like spending time with someone, and to see Shishido actually spend time with Kiryu and still see him sort of have that rigid mindset of like, dude, I came up from the ghettos of Japan or whatever. I have nothing to my name, okay? To be a Yakuza member is to rise to the top with money, power, influences, and hoes. Like, this is the life I want, and I don't appreciate the fact that you guys are sitting here and you're trying to end that life for a life of legitimacy where I'm just making an average salary, or probably even less than an average salary. And I think that right there is what makes Shishido such a great villain towards the end, because he essentially became sort of like a caged animal. And I actually like the fact that he was so headstrong that it actually made him a pretty decent villain. Honestly, if you ask me, and well, I was just gonna say this unprovoked anyway, a better villain than the villains in Like a Dragon 8, that's for sure. Speaking of personality, I think the one thing that actually surprised me the most about Like a Dragon Gaiden is the fact that Kiryu had so much boomer personality that it was a sight to behold. Like, this man was sassy. It was funny just seeing Kiryu in a whole new light, because we're so used to Kiryu, or rather, you know, us in the Like a Dragon elderly community. Kiryu is such a stoic and brooding character who does have a bit of a sense of humor, but for the most part he's very reserved. And so it was funny to see, like, in this game, Kiryu was just so sassy, just so laid back, so relaxed, so willing to do things that you would never expected for him to do. It was like a nice, like, fresh breath of air. And speaking of carefree, I like the fact that the side stories in this game were hilarious. There was also a lot of callbacks to a bunch of side characters that were in some of the other Yakuza games that starred Kiryu, like Little Miss Obitarian right here. And don't worry, the combat in Like a Dragon Gaiden returned back to being the action brawler that we all have seen Yakuza start off as. Kiryu has like a new fighting style, and as y'all saw while I was playing it, you know, he was looking like Peter Parker at some points with the Spider-Man gadgets and stuff, and apparently the gadgets was provided by the Daidoji or someone affiliated with the Daidoji, but for some odd reason it's not really featured in Like a Dragon 8. And there's a few other things about Like a Dragon 8 that don't line up with the events that took place in Like a Dragon Gaiden. And another thing I wouldn't say I didn't necessarily like, but I could live without, was the battle stuff. In this game, like, earning money comes just as quick as losing it, since Kiryu's upgrade costs a lot of money. A throwback to Yakuza 0. I didn't necessarily care for the battling stuff. It was fun, not necessarily anything that I cared to like get so caught up into until I needed the money. Pretty much overall, give my rating of Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, a pretty good solid rating. Putting any serious money into buying it, if anything, it's like $40. And I played it on Xbox Game Pass through my friend's account. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, you could play it for free. So it's not necessarily like paying like a $60 or $70 game. But other than that, that wraps up this overview for my playthrough of Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all try it out at least, or if you catch it on sale, go ahead and pick it up and give it a try. It's pretty fun. I had a good time. Definitely reminded me of playing the older Yakuza games. And until the next video, this has been Tess. Please take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace.